for every guy out there that made an NFL roster, especially you rookies. Congratulations. That is incredible. What a dream come true. Here's my advice.
You're tuned in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast, guiding your gridiron journey, none other than your host, former NFL lineman, Ross Tucker.
Oh, yeah, it is. But it's not just any Ross Tucker Football Podcast. It's a Wisdom Wednesday presented, of course, by DraftKings. We'll have one more episode this week with the civilian GOAT, Greg Cosell. Hopefully, I'll remember to find a spread the word winner via social media, either at Ross Tucker NFL, at Ross Tucker Pod. Engage in any way, and I'll send you the press pass signed of your choice. The sponsor confirmation email winner, take advantage of any of our sponsors. In fact, make sure you're listening because there's a couple of sponsors in particular. You take advantage of their offers, you're automatically entered to win a copy of Madden. And then the YouTube shout out, youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL. More and more people listening or watching or whatever on YouTube. Just subscribe and then make a comment to automatically be entered for me to send you a video, which I love doing. Shout out today to Sean Harrington. He's the latest patron. Patreon.com/RT Media. Welcome to the family, Sean. Very excited about today's guest for a lot of reasons. Annie Agar, I think most of you know her. We'll talk about her and talk with her momentarily. What you need to know is that Smirnoff is the perfect vodka for crafting delicious cocktails that are easy to make and versatile for any and all fans over 21. It's the world's #1 vodka, and how about this? Official vodka partner of the NFL. Grab a bottle of Smirnoff at your local retailer and head to Smirnoff.com to find recipes of delicious cocktails perfect for game day. Please drink responsibly. Smirnoff #21 vodka, distilled from grain, 40% alcohol. The Smirnoff Company, New York, New York. Please do not share with anyone under legal drinking age. Big Show time.
The Big Show.
As promised, happy to be joined now by Annie Agar. I think everybody listening, or certainly those watching youtube.com/Ross Tucker NFL, is familiar with her work. Primarily, I guess, on social media, all those videos that go viral. It's crazy looking at her Twitter account at Annie Agar, AGAR. Every tweet has like crazy engagement. I'm so jealous. It's amazing. She also is an NFL correspondent for Stadium Network and the host of the new Wondery podcast, The Offensive Line. And so that's pretty cool. And let's start with the name of the show, because obviously that's the position I played. It's like, I guess it's how you say the word, right? Like it's not the offensive line, it's the offensive line. Am I doing that right?
Absolutely. That was the fun little obvious play on words there. Because then it's also a very sports betting focused pod as well. So you've got a line, obviously, a line in sports betting. So we did a little play on words there, like the most egregious line that gets set in Vegas. So it's a triple meaning. I obviously say one or two things that could be taken as being offensive. At least that's what people say. I don't know. I personally don't know, but it's a fun little play on words, and we thought it was the perfect tribute to you guys as the O-line guys out there. And we had some fun with the other versions of it too. So I'm very happy. We workshopped the name a lot, came up with the offensive line, and it's all about how you say it. That's exactly it.
I didn't know that there was a betting component to it. So that's pretty cool. That makes
I'm the
even
degenerate,
more.
Ross. No.
Oh, are you?
Absolutely.
That makes even more sense. All right. So I don't know how many podcasts you listen to or not, but if you are into betting, highly recommend my Even Money Betting podcast. I've been told it's like the #1 NFL betting pod. I guess you're coming for me, but
don't you worry.
It's only 25 minutes with Steve Fezzik, 25 to 30, and we go pretty quick. He's a pro bettor in Vegas.
Okay.
We recap how we did the week before, then we go pretty quick through each of our bets each week. It's pretty cool. I've been around for a while. As have you, by the way, on social media. I think probably like most people, I just know you from social media and the videos. So this is awesome to have you on to just kind of get the background. Like, where are you from? Who are your squads? And how did you start doing this?
Yeah. Yeah. I am originally from Michigan, which shocks a lot of people because I am a diehard Packers fan. We can get into that, how that all happened. But I'd moved home during COVID. In my childhood bedroom, I did a video on TikTok. It was like the first time everybody was getting on TikTok. Did a video on TikTok and overnight, and it was about the Big Ten in the same kind of format that I do it now. It was kind of playing out the characters of the Big Ten. And overnight, it had 3 million views. And I thought, this is something people want right now. It's this kind of comedic relief, I guess, in a time where there was none. So I just started doing more and more of those videos. And it led to this whole series now where I do these weekly recap of the NFL meetings. I guess I do it in like a meeting setting now, not a Zoom meeting anymore. And it's just a fun way, I think, to recap what happened on Sundays and roast the teams and players in the process. And I've now kind of streamlined that into this podcast where it's elaborating on these jokes that I make in the video, but now we can actually have a conversation. It's a little bit more informal, and I'm chatting with, my followers and fans and stuff like that. So it's been a whirlwind, but it happened, in my childhood bedroom in Michigan. And now I live in the beautiful city of Chicago where Bears fans hate me even more. It's lovely.
All right. So wait, what were you doing before you moved in with your parents for COVID? Like, you were doing nothing related to videos or football or anything?
I was working in local news, which that is a journey, let me tell you. 20-hour days working in local news, and anybody that's done that, and a lot of people in our industry worked up that way, because if you want to be a sports sideline reporter or a sports broadcaster, you had to work in local news. And man, it is a very thankless job. And I credit my bosses a ton because it taught me so much about this industry. But I was working, you'd go out, you'd film high school football games. Like, I'd cover 3 high school football games a Friday night, rush back to get my highlights on air by 10 o'clock. And you edited, you produced, you wrote the scripts, you put packages together. Everything. It was a one-man show, which made me appreciate this industry a ton. So I was working in local news when COVID hit. Obviously, sports shut down, so we didn't have anything to cover. I did a couple of news stories, but learned very quickly that when you have a sports voice, you should not be doing news stories about like crashes and stuff. And I'm like smiling while I'm talking about it. It was not great. So, so I learned very quickly. That wasn't the path. And then that's when I got on social media and kind of took to that. And I think it shows people now in the industry how great social media can be, because now you don't have to go the normal route through local news. You can really get yourself out there doing your own kind of branded content on social media.
Okay. So then let's go back to the part where you're a Packers fan, even though you grew up in Michigan and all of your family's Lions fans. How did that happen?
My brother, and you guys have probably seen me post about my brother quite a bit. He is the biggest Lions fan you will ever meet, biggest sports fan, and that's saying a lot coming from me. But he's brilliant. Like, you can ask him who won the Super Bowl back in 19 whatever. He'll tell you who the MVP was, what the score was. This kid is brilliant. And growing up, he drilled into me that I was going to be a Lions and a Michigan State fan. And I, of course, being the rebellious little sister, was like, well, we'll see about that. And my best friend growing up, who had 6 brothers, lived across the street from me, all from Wisconsin, diehard Packers fans. And I kid you not, I went over there a lot on the weekends to hang out with her. She was my best friend growing up. And I came home one week, and I was young. I was like 8 or 9 maybe. And I looked my dad dead in the eyes and I said, over at my friend's house, they don't cry on Sundays, because my brother cried every single Sunday and it ruined my weekend. And my dad goes, well, that's because they're Packers fans. And I was like, well, I kind of like that. So, of course, told my friend that, and her brothers gave me immediately a cheesehead Packer, a Brett Favre jersey. Like, I was, part of the family now. So I spent weekends over there and loved my life, and it just stuck, and it pissed my brother off. So that was a win-win. So that is how we are where we are.
That is amazing. And that also makes me so happy for your brother with what happened for the Lions last year.
Oh, man.
I was on the sideline, Annie, for Westwood One, for that first Lions home playoff game or whatever it was, first win in 30 years.
Yep.
That was one of the definitely top 10, maybe top 5 coolest atmospheres, experiences. Like, those people, there were actually a legitimate amount of people crying in the stands, like tears of joy.
Yeah. It's got to be one of the most underrated, maybe not underrated now, but the fan base is incredible. And this is coming from someone who was born in Detroit. Those people will give you the shirt off their back. They're some of the nicest, best people I've ever met in Detroit. And man, you could see in the crowd, like you said, the tears, that was all real. As I've grown up with that. They just expected every year to just be in misery. And I mean, I'm telling you, that was the coolest experience, seeing them happy for once. It was wild.
Awesome. All right. So I guess I'm curious, watching your videos and all, like the college one that I guess first went viral, all the wardrobe changes. That's the part that would really annoy me. That seems like a pretty significant time commitment. Like, how long it's so funny. It's only like a 2-minute video, but I'm curious how long like a video like that actually takes you to do.
Yeah, it's and people always say that too. They're like, "Oh, I'm looking over at all of my jerseys next to me." They say, "Do you film, all of like Ohio State's segments together and then you do Michigan State?" And I'm like, "No, because they have to act like they're actually talking to each other." So I do continuously change in between each character. Usually a video takes me like 3 hours. The NFL ones that are super long now, I've gotten up to like 4 minutes, I think. They take like 3 or 4 hours to film. And that's not editing. That's just the filming process. Editing is a whole other story. So, which I would never complain about it. I absolutely love doing it. And I hopefully have gotten into a rhythm now, but it definitely is a lot of changing. Yeah, a lot of trying to figure out if I'm looking the right way with one character to talk to the other character. And yeah, it's a process.
Oh yeah. You got to make sure you're looking at the person
Yeah,
that was talking to you before. That's
exactly. And if
that's
I have a three-way conversation with a couple teams, I'm like, oh, this is gonna be weird. I gotta figure out the direction here.
oh, that's a great point. What's it been like being sort of I don't know if there's a better way to say this, but like a social media celebrity or a viral celebrity. What's that been like for you? Because I'm sure some people knew you in your local market when you were doing news or sports, I should say. But now it's like different. I mean, literally, I never met you before in my life. I was walking past you at the Super Bowl. I saw you. I said, "Hey, I really like your videos," and you're like, "Oh, thank you so much." Like, you're
Aw.
very, but like that probably happens to you 50 times a day.
You know what? I absolutely love it. And I think it's because I wanted to get to a place where I was able to bring people content at this higher level, or, reach out to as many fans as I can. Cause those are my people. Like, we're all football fans at the end of the day. That's why we got into this industry. And so to have a fan come up and say, "Hey, your videos got me through COVID," or "I love watching your videos." Like, at least for me, when I get on TikTok or when I get on social media, I have comfort people. I have certain TikTokers that come up, and I think we all do, that we're used to seeing, and we're like, "Oh, this is my comfort person. I'm going to watch their video and feel good and, maybe laugh or something." That's what I've always wanted to bring to people. So having people in the industry, or having fans come up and say, "Hey, loved your videos," that just means the world. And I will never get sick of it. People come up and they're like, "Oh, you probably get this." Like at Super Bowl, fans kept coming up like, "So sorry to bother you." I'm like, "Oh my gosh, you guys, like I understand how celebrities might get sick of it, but I do not see myself at that level at all yet. So please come up to me at any moment, because it will make my day. Guaranteed I'll think about it for the rest of the day." So I absolutely love it.
Annie, I am in the exact same, not the exact same, but I have the same mindset as
Hmm.
you when it comes to that. I think I had my brother-in-law cracking up last weekend. We were somewhere and I had a few, I call them daddy sodas, a few beers. And some woman came up to me and said, "I hate to bother you, but I absolutely love you on TV with the Eagles or
Oh, I
whatever."
love it.
And I said, "Oh," I said, "you're not bothering me at all." I said, "I love people that love me." And my brother-in-law just started dying. He loved
That's
that
a
line.
great
I
line.
love people that love me. I
That's a
just came
great
out
line. But you want to feel appreciated, and they make you feel appreciated. I love that. That's a
a
great.
thousand percent. All right. So I don't need to talk numbers, but I think people would be curious to know how you go about monetizing your content. I mean, if you're putting 3 or 4 hours into these videos,
Mhm.
you got to be getting some return on that investment. How does that work typically? Because I don't know if I don't see ads on yours. So how does that
Yeah.
work?
Yeah, I'm very thankful to Stadium and the full-time. So Stadium's my full-time job. So I'm really appreciative that they allow me to get paid that way, so that we don't have to throw ads onto the videos. And we've talked about possible sponsorships for the videos, but I want them to be as organic as possible. And sometimes when you get a brand involved, and we do a lot of brand deals too. So that's a lot of the a lot of my monetization comes from that as well. But when you involve brands, sometimes they won't want you to include this joke, or they want you to keep it a little bit cleaner. And I just want people to know that the jokes are very, like, I don't hold back. And I think that's what makes the videos funny, is that it walks a fine line of, oh my gosh, did she really just say that about this guy? And, obviously I'm respectful to the players and stuff, but I don't want any limitations on the videos to make them, maybe not as funny. And that's why we kind of stayed away from maybe a little bit bigger networks for the time being, because, then they have more control over the videos. So yeah, so I've been really lucky that everything worked out, or very blessed, maybe not lucky, but very blessed with how everything worked out, that I have this full-time job. I'm now able to do this podcast with a great, company with Wondery, like you said, with Amazon is so great to not limit my jokes either. So for now, they are, as offensive as we can get them without crossing a line. So yeah. So, and then we'll try to keep ads off of them for as long as possible.
That is awesome. All right. So about how long is the show? Obviously, you said you say some offensive things and you talk about the betting line. So kind of give me like the breakdown of the show itself.
Yeah, the show is about 35, 40 minutes. And kind of like you said with your show, you try to keep it condensed because there's so much sports betting knowledge thrown. Not even now. I would not say that I put out knowledge. If you guys saw my betting slips a lot of the time, there's no knowledge involved. That is all luck. But it's a lot of just, hey, this is what we're betting this week. Especially when the games start happening. I mean, that's going to be, parlays all the time. And so I'll try to just kind of get that information out there, and then we'll elaborate on that a little bit. And the show opens with more trending topics in social media because, I consume so much social media, as I'm sure you do too. People that are in the sports industry, we have to be on Twitter/X all the time. We're on TikTok all the time. So I want to condense that down to people so that they don't have to feel like they're scrolling through social media. They get the condensed version of what's happening and trending in social media. And then we go to the sports betting a little bit, and there's, humor and jokes thrown in there, hopefully. And yeah, short and sweet, and hopefully get you your info from that previous slate of games.
Love it. This upcoming NFL season, check out Wondery's newest football podcast, The Offensive Line with Annie Agar. Watch The Offensive Line now on YouTube and listen on the Wondery app or wherever you get your podcast. Speaking of that, I think tomorrow, or it's maybe even later today, we will be dropping an episode of Annie's show into our feed. So if you guys see that or notice that, that is by design, so that you guys can first hear Annie here on our show and then check out her show. Hopefully it's not better than mine, but hopefully it's good anyway, and you guys will like it. There's plenty of room for both of us, and certainly check her out on social media at Annie Agar, Agar. Annie, thanks so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate it.
Of course. Thank you guys. I appreciate it.
Awesome stuff with Annie. Really enjoyed that. Hopefully you guys did as well. Speaking of enjoying it, I've now talked to two of my friends that are enjoying Future Fans. The way to have your younger kids learn about football. It's awesome. Those guys came on the show, I guess that was a couple weeks ago at this point now. But to be able to have your 4-year-old, 5-year-old, 6, 7, 8-year-old totally understand football, want to watch the games with you and not be on their iPad, not watching any of the other stuff. I can't even remember what my girls are 11 and 12 now, so they're past whatever it is they used to watch back in the day. At any rate, what are you waiting for? Not only can you get a Madden if you do this, it's Final Cutdowns days were yesterday. We are 8 days away from the first game, and your kid could understand football by what, week 2? Maybe even before that? Future Fans teaches in an incredible way. You won't be disappointed. Go to futurefans.com to learn more. Use the code Ross so they know I sent you, and unlock a lifetime of memories with a kid in your life starting now. And then sit on the couch while you're watching NFL games with them and drink some yummy Labatt Blue Light, because your work will be done here, my friend. They will know how to follow a football game, and then you guys can just cheer together. Live life to the power of we. Always enjoy that Labatt Blue Light responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York.
Tuck's Takes.
All right, Ross, the final roster cuts were yesterday, 4 p.m. What stood out to you the most?
Well, there's a lot, I guess, that stood out to me. There were some notable cuts. There were a couple trades. The PUP list, I think, was interesting to see what guys are definitely not playing the first 4 games. But I think just kind of the overall tone of they made the team. I think that's my biggest takeaway. In fact, I'm going to make that, Jack, my Labatt take, presented by Labatt Blue Light. It's the pristine Canadian Pilsner. Enjoy your beers together as you can live life to the power of we. Always enjoy responsibly. Beer, Labatt USA, Buffalo, New York. For every guy out there that made an NFL roster, especially you rookies, congratulations. That is incredible. What a dream come true. Here's my advice. Tomorrow, go in there and work even harder and earn it again. And then the day after that, the same thing. And then the day after that, and the day after that, and the day after that, for the entire rest of your career. Because the reality is, you've never really made it. As soon as you feel like you've made it, you'll be gone. You see some of the guys that got cut? Kadarius Toney and Allen Robinson, all these guys that were high picks and played a bunch of football. You've never really made it. Congratulations. But this is just the start. It's not the finish. And you have to earn it every single day.
Some notable cuts include Browns' third-round pick last year. I might pronounce this name wrong. Definitely will. Siaka Ika. Patriots quarterback Bailey Zappi. Giants wide receiver Allen Robinson. Eagles, they released wide receiver John Ross. The Texans, they released Noah Brown. Chiefs wide receiver Kadarius Toney. He was cut alongside Titans cornerback Caleb Farley. And the Chargers, they cut the tight end Donald Parham.
Siaki Ika. I mean, you got both wrong. You got the first name and the last name wrong. That's hard to do. There were a lot of other notable guys that got cut. The one that jumped out to me the most out of all those is Noah Brown. Noah Brown had a really good year for the Texans last year. Jack, they gave him $4 million on a 1-year deal, $3 million fully guaranteed, $1 million signing bonus. So, I mean, they got a lot of receivers, but wow, that jumped out to me for sure. And I'll say this too: I don't like dive into every team's cuts, that closely. I haven't looked through the whole list yet, but I love the fact, and I said this in my Ross report where I talk about the Eagles on social media at Ross Tucker NFL. Absolutely love the fact that guys like Darian Kennard and Thomas Booker made the Eagles 53-man roster. Exactly nobody thought going into training camp that they would make the roster, Jack. Nobody. This is what it's supposed to be about. You're supposed to have to earn it. And those guys did it. I hope every team's like that. It's not always like that. Some teams keep draft picks just because GM doesn't want to look bad. Love it. Love the Eagles. Look, Chris Ballard cut 3 of his draft picks. Tip of the cap to Chris Ballard. That's a GM that's not insecure, and he knows what really matters is having the best roster, not saving the face with a couple of late-round picks.
Some transactional notes. The Rams, they trade linebacker Ernest Jones to the Tennessee Titans. The Cowboys, they send tight end Peyton Hendershot to the Chiefs. Titans, they trade quarterback Malik Willis to the Packers for a 7th-round pick. And some contract news. Wide receiver CeeDee Lamb, he gets a huge 4-year, $136 million year, $36 million signing bonus from the Cowboys.
Never really know what to say about huge contracts like that, other than congratulations for CD. We knew this was going to happen. And Cowboys fans, just know with the $34 million a year, you're probably paying somewhere between $2 to $6 million more per year than you needed to because you waited this long. So congrats, I guess. I don't know. I don't know why that's their philosophy. The most interesting trade, I mean, Ernest Jones has been a good player for the Rams. That helps the Titans. And the Packers cut Sean Clifford. So Malik Willis appears to be immediately their backup running back. I mean, backup quarterback, I should say.
Browns running back Nick Chubb, he's going to stay on the PUP for at least the first 4 games of the season, just like Panthers running back Jonathan Brooks, Vikings tight end TJ Hawkinson, and Eagles safety Sidney Brown, amongst some others.
Right, there's a bunch of them. There's a bunch of guys that'll be on PUP for the first 4 weeks. Other things that jumped out to me, Jack, would be Browns D tackle Mike Hall going on the commissioner's exempt list. That was a second-round pick. They were hoping to get some interior pressure from him. The Chiefs signed Juju Smith-Schuster for the minimum salary. Just wild. $7 million fully guaranteed from the Patriots this year, and they'd rather cut him, and the Chiefs get him for the minimum, which is amazing. Then there's some other business stuff like the NFL allowing private equity firms to purchase limited stakes. Maybe we'll talk about that with Greg, which, by the way, Greg might be a little bit later than usual on Thursday. Could be Friday. Stay tuned. I think we're done here.
Thanks for tuning in to the Ross Tucker Football Podcast. Make sure to also check out Even Money, Fantasy Feast, and College Draft, all on the DraftKings Network on Samsung TV Plus, YouTube, or subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform.
Shout out myfrontpagestory.com. You guys know how much I love it. Best gift ever. How about Pizza Boy Brewing? I will be there next Monday. What is that? September 9th, first Monday night of the season. I'll be at Pizza Boy Brewing at least 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern time. You guys better be there as well. Sporticulture, humanheadnyc.com, backofficeschedule.com, and the aforementioned myfrontpagestory.com.